Part 91. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 909. After the death blade accidentally fused with the edge of destruction, the chemical reaction was so strong. The level and so on are just Sotingu's unilateral speculation at present, but the various numerical values of the death blade have actually been improved. The daytime attribute has been weakened from 30% to 20%, which means that the death blade can exert greater power during the day. In addition, the attributes at night are enhanced by 100%. This is an increase that the death blade did not have before. It means that the power of the death blade at night has been doubled. When Sotingu saw the end, his expression suddenly became startled. Fake contract? I remember the contract that was shown before, right? Why? Sotingu clicked incuriously. A new interface pops up. Contracted body, death blade. Lord of the contract, Angel Sug. Spirit of contract, fallen angel Lucifer. Pseudo-contract limitation period, 60 days, please obtain the real approval of the spirit before the expiration of the limitation period and conclude a real contract. If the contract cannot be concluded within the prescribed limitation period, the pseudo-contract will be automatically terminated after the limitation period ends and cannot be renewed. Second contract with the spirit of the same false contract. Holy shit. Lucifer, Sotingu's eyes widened in surprise. Isn't Lucifer still on the volcanic island of Jian continent? Sotingu couldn't understand why she suddenly made a false contract with Lucifer. The edge of destruction, could it be that the death blade fused with the edge of destruction? That led to the false contract between Lucifer and me. This. Sotingu's first reaction was not ecstasy, but anxiety. Making a contract with a god is more arrogant and whimsical than killing a god or sealing a god. How could a god with his arrogant nature be willing to make a contract with an ordinary human being? And it is still in a subordinate position. For a moment, Sotingu didn't want to go back to the volcanic island of Jian continent. She was afraid that when Lucifer came out, the first thing he would do was chop her into pieces. Of course, Sotingu could only think about it. After all, his main mission was closely related to Lucifer. If he wanted to clear the dungeon, he had to continue looking for Lucifer. It's time to go. Sotingu jumped off the ground. Suddenly, a palm wind with murderous intent hit Sotingu's face. Sotingu dodged away with a calm expression. Ah, we meet again. The figure of the right protector appeared from behind a tree not far away. Why? Sotingu raised his hand and rubbed his eyebrows. Being followed like this all the time is not an option. No. We cannot continue to be so passive. The right protector was still saying harsh words. Don't even think about escaping anymore, the area around here is being guarded. Sotingu flexed her wrist. How do you find me again and again? What? Give up resistance. Won't you run away? Seeing that Sotingu didn't seem to have any intention of escaping, the guard on the right asked. As you wish. Sotingu suddenly rushed towards the right protector. Unknown to her, the meteor rod was already in her hand. I'll give you a beating. Arrogant, the right protector showed no fear at all. Boom. The meteor rod hit the right protector's arm, but he blocked it easily. Sotingu retracted his stick, and in the next second, he used a tricky angle to draw out the stick. Boom. On a hillside not far away, a man dressed in black was playing with a sophisticated camera. After being successfully turned on, all the fighting scenes between the two people in the forest were recorded. At the same time, some display screens in major urban centers in Jiang continent are also connected for simultaneous broadcast. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 910. Hey. Do you know that you are very annoying? I think you have a serious illness. I didn't kill your whole family, and I didn't pick up your girl. Why are you treating me like this with such hatred? I don't understand. Sutinyu had no way to directly beat the protector Peo, so he could only find another way out and launch a verbal attack. The expression on the right protector's face became even more gloomy, filled with overwhelming anger. "It's too slow. Fix it quickly." At this time, the man in black on the hillside received an order. "Yes." Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis flashed through Sutinyu's mind. Where? Sutinyu subconsciously wanted to find the source of the danger. On the hillside not far away, a bright astigmatism of light flashed. Immediately afterwards, boom! Silenced gunfire rang out. A cloud-piercing bullet was shot out, pointing directly at Sutinyu's head. This timing was chosen too precisely. Sutinyu was in a stalemate with the right protector. No. This level of lethality can't be forceful. Sutinyu's wings suddenly spread out from behind, and the strong wind from the wings was enough to repel the right protector. Crack! The bullet, which exceeded the speed of sound, hit the side of Sutinyu's face in an instant. The right protector stopped attacking and stared straight at Sutinyu in mid-air. "Done." On the hillside, the man in black murmured somewhat unconfidently. In the eyes of outsiders, this shot really hit Sutinyu. But only Sutinyu knew that when she didn't have time to completely avoid it, she turned her face sideways and used defensive game props to protect her. This shot only knocked off the ordinary mask Sutinyu wore. But Sutinyu's true appearance was also exposed to the sun. There was disbelief in the eyes of the right protector. "You are actually a woman." Sutinyu lowered his head and glanced at the two-piece mask that had fallen to the ground, then reached out and touched his little face. No scars. Still a pretty little fairy. Sutinyu subconsciously forgot that she could feel pain in the copy world. If her face was scratched, she would naturally feel the pain. Seeing the doubt on the face of Protector Right, who seemed to be stuck in an endless cycle of self-denial of "how could I fall into the hands of a little girl," Sutinyu touched her nose and spoke with a slight smile. "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Now that he was exposed, Sutinyu stopped being secretive and admitted openly. Although Sutinyu's appearance is not glamorous and stunning, it is good at giving people a childlike purity, just like a little angel. If you just stand there obediently, say nothing, and just smile, you can easily touch people's hearts. In the piled-up waste yard, an old man among the scavengers picked up a star coin with the smallest denomination from the garbage. He first wiped the dirt on the surface of the star coin with his cuffs, and then carefully put it into the inner pocket that was close to the skin. The old man's physical strength was not as good as before. After rummaging for a while, he could only stop and rest. Coincidentally, the display screen on a tall building in the distance was playing a fight in real time. One person is the famous protector of the Pope's palace. The other person's face was covered, and it was impossible to tell who he was. However, when the scavengers like the old man around him saw the right protector fighting with others, they almost all supported the right protector. Occasionally there are one or two outliers who do not choose to support the mysterious person, but are just curious about his identity. Only the old man watched the battle quietly without saying a word. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 911. Until the mysterious man spread his wings on his back. The mysterious man's mask was knocked off. The scavengers around him were exclaiming and panicking, but the old man was the only one who stared blankly at the figure soaring in the sky on the screen. The old man who has lived for most of his life has forgotten many past events. But now, in his mind, he suddenly remembered a passage he had read in the basement books collected by his great-grandfather when he was a boy. It looks like a human being, with wings on its back, holy and flawless, and supremely powerful. It's for God. In a papal branch. Protector Zo was leisurely watching the two people fighting on the screen, feeling very happy. As long as the right protector kills this person and the thief who has insulted the Pope's palace, then it is equivalent to telling the world that the Pope's palace is still sacred and inviolable. When the two were in a stalemate, Guardian Zo deliberately added fuel to the fire, causing the assassin in the dark to take action immediately. But what happened next was suddenly out of his control. When Guardian Zo saw the pair of black wings on Sotingu's back, he was so frightened that he stood up. How can it be? She is, impossible. Absolutely impossible. Guardian Zo, who had always seemed gentle but was actually cold-blooded, was completely disturbed at this moment. No. Live broadcast, Guardian Zo immediately contacted the killer in charge. Turn off the live broadcast. Turn it off immediately. On the other side, the shocked killer was woken up by Protector Zo's shout and quickly turned off the live broadcast. But it's too late. At the same time, the entire Jiang continent was in shock. A person has a pair of wings on his body. Is that a monster? But how can a monster be so beautiful? That's not a monster. That's an angel. Although the live broadcast was turned off, the figure lingering in the air was deeply engraved in the hearts of the people of Jiang continent and would be unforgettable for a long time. The news spread bit by bit, and more people were talking about this matter. Even though the local Pope's palace sent out believers to strictly prohibit everyone from talking about this matter, and Sotingu was given the title of devil. Things slowly unfolded, and just when the people were about to accept that it was a demon, turmoil suddenly broke out in various places. Those who took the lead looked up to the sky and laughed. There are gods in the world. There really are gods. My faith is not wrong. In the end, the enthusiastic and moved team gradually grew, and they kept chanting one after another. My God! Return! Guardian Zo was in the Pope's branch hall, busy dealing with the turmoil caused by Sotingu. After taking the time, the left guardian immediately contacted the right guardian. As soon as the phone call was dialed, Protector Zo immediately spoke. Where are you? Kill that woman at all costs. Then come back quickly, something happened. Protector Zo said a lot, but gradually, he felt something was wrong. Why is the person on the other side silent? Hey, are you listening? Finally, there was a reply from the other end. Oh, listen. It was a clear female voice. Protector Zo's eyes widened, and he had a vague premonition. The female voice sighed, I'm sorry, I just ran to find the right protector's head and asked him to listen to you, that head flew over there. Beep. Protector Zo hung up the call. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 912. Huh. Sotingu glanced at the phone in her hand and hung up. Sotingu threw away the phone. The other hand is not holding the meteor rod, but the death blade. At Sotingu's feet, there was a headless corpse. The purple clothes on the corpse were slightly fluttering in the wind. Well, there was also a head that had just been picked up. Sotingu also dealt with the nearby killer. It has to be said that the successfully fused death blade is really powerful. The right guardian who had been fighting with him back and forth before was beheaded by himself. Of course, Sotingu also has some tricks up his sleeve. After dealing with the right protector, Sotingu simply flew around in a circle, scaring all the nearby killers. When Sotingu came back, he found that Protector Yu's cell phone was ringing. So, Sotingu picked up the right protector's head very kindly and enthusiastically, and let the right protector's head answer the phone. It's time to go. Sotingu took back the death blade and left happily. This time, no one will chase me. According to the original plan, Sotingu went directly to a port near the sea and kidnapped a boat and a crew member who knew how to sail the boat. Then, Sotingu took the boat and left Jiang continent. After wandering at sea for several days, Sotingu set foot on Jiyan continent again. Sutinyu rested for one night, and then rushed to the volcanic island the next day. But when Sutinyu wanted to buy a boat ticket, he was told that the volcanic island had been banned from entering. After Sutinyu thought for a moment, he could guess the reason behind this. But the distance between the volcanic island and the inland Jian is relatively close, and Sutinyu can definitely swim there. So, Sutinyu paddled in the sea for 2 days and 1 night before arriving at the volcanic island. As soon as she arrived at the volcanic island, Sutinyu felt that the atmosphere on the volcanic island was very different from the last time she came here. The current volcanic island is a bit gloomy, like a powder keg that may explode at any time. Sutinyu didn't pay much attention and rushed to the crater immediately. As expected, the crater was also sealed, with earth and rocks even poured in and sealed with cement. In addition, there is someone watching over you at all times. This thickness. Sutinyu estimated that she would be able to pierce it with a stab of the meteor rod. If it doesn't work once, then twice. However, Sutinyu still waited patiently until night, because there were many people during the day and there were many passers-by coming and going. At night, Sutinyu used a stick to knock out the guards outside the crater, and then stabbed through the concrete wall with ease. Don't ask why you are familiar with the road. The question is that there was once a magnificent palace in front of her, and she knew to cherish it, so she left a pile of ruins afterwards. Sutinyu entered the interior of the volcano, and this time, he flew directly into the passage. After wandering around for several hours, Sutinyu saw the illusory magma again. Sutinyu glanced at the death blade in the inventory, took a deep breath, and dived in. After Sutinyu came in, Lu 11, who was resting, slowly opened his eyes. When he saw the former, he was not too surprised. Back. It's like an old friend who has known each other for many years. When you meet again, you simply say hello. Sutinyu took out the 3 sacred objects and said, I got them all back. Lucifer glanced at the 3 divine objects, but did not reveal why there were only 3 remaining out of the original 4. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 913. Lucifer frowned slightly, and the 3 divine objects floated automatically. The angel's heart sank directly into Lucifer's heart, while the angel sword and angel staff were inserted into the nearest rocks on Lucifer's left and right sides. Golden light emitted from the surface of the 2 divine objects, and Lucifer closed his eyes. Aha! Sutinyu looked at this scene, a little confused. However, Sutinyu did not disturb Lucifer, but took out a chair, sat on the chair and waited. 1 hour. 2 hours. 3 hours. After Sutinyu waited for 6 hours, Lucifer opened his eyes again. Sutinyu felt that Lucifer was slightly different, but he couldn't explain it. Seeing that Lucifer seemed to be breaking free from the chains on his body, Sutinyu suddenly remembered something and immediately shouted to stop. Etc. Lucifer's eyes fluctuated slightly and he stared at Sutinyu. Is there anything else? Just wait a minute. Sutinyu immediately ran away to avoid Lucifer coming out with too much noise and accidentally hurting the innocent person. After confirming that his position was safe, Sutinyu waved his hand. Okay, you continue. Lucifer, why does this human being travel so far? But Lucifer closed his eyes as he felt that the emptiness in his chest had been filled and no longer existed. On Lucifer's body, golden lines and symbols full of mystery gradually appeared. The hard chains wrapped around Lucifer's body were softened little by little into molten iron when they encountered those golden lines and symbols, and drip tick tick, flowed down Lucifer's body, and eventually flowed into the magma. Lucifer opened his eyes and his body left the cross. He was floating in mid-air, and the injured wings on his back were miraculously reborn in an instant. Lucifer opened his hands slightly, and the angel staff and angel sword stuck on the rocky ground flew into his palms. A burst of golden light began to flash in Lucifer's palm, and all the scepter and sword sank into his palm, as if they were integrated with him, and finally, they all disappeared. Sutingu's eyes widened. Do you want to take them all back, in your body? If he didn't think it was impossible, Sutingu really wanted to ask Lucifer, brother, are you a player? Lucifer lowered his eyes and glanced at Sutingu on the ground, flapped his wings and flew down smoothly. Sutingu watched Lucifer land and walk towards her step by step. He immediately raised his hand and blocked the latter's lower body from the air. Do you want to wear something? I happen to have unworn men's clothes here. Clothes? Lucifer paused and glanced at his naked body. You humans are quite troublesome. Don't all your gods wear clothes? Sutingu asked. Lucifer's eyes wandered for a moment. Maybe. Sutingu, Cough cough cough. Lucifer suddenly coughed a few times, and then his face became a little reluctant. The golden lines on his body appeared again, and gradually condensed into a pure golden robe. The outer robe is windless and automatic, just suitable for Lucifer's figure, making him look particularly elegant and elegant. Sutingu put down her hand and murmured softly, I don't know if there will be needle holes. What did you say? Ahem, it's nothing. Sutingu's expression immediately became serious, but he couldn't pretend for more than 2 seconds and immediately revealed his true colors. You just came out like this. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 914. Lucifer blinked his golden eyes. Otherwise. Sutingu glanced at the empty cross, then at the calm volcanic lava, and finally looked back at Lucifer with a bewildered expression. It shouldn't be. What shouldn't be done? Lucifer asked. You have lifted the seal, right? Lucifer didn't know why. Yes. Sutingu looked confused. Then why, is it so ordinary? Usual? Lucifer was confused. Isn't it just about breaking free from the chains? Is it difficult? That's right, Sutingu pursed his lips. I am fully prepared, waiting for you to break the seal like a ghost and cry like a ghost. The king returns. Let the yin and yang continent return to the control of the gods. The more Lucifer listened, the weirder he felt, while Sutingu became more and more excited as he talked, spouting a lot of words, and he couldn't find a chance to interrupt. Hey, Lucifer, you are so out of character. You didn't even detonate a volcano. Regarding Sutingu's last sincere opinion, Lucifer thought carefully for 2 seconds and replied, how about you lock me up again, and then I do it all over again? This time, I will blow up the volcano as you wish. There's no need, I'm just talking. Sutingu didn't expect that Lucifer would really take it seriously, and even seemed to have a lot of ideas. Some things are lost when they are lost. When you find them again, you won't feel that way anymore. In order to dispel Lucifer's evil thoughts, Sutingu said some serious philosophy. Haha. Hearing this, Lucifer chuckled, as if talking to himself. You see, I don't know who is leading whom. As soon as he finished speaking, Lucifer started coughing violently again as if he was out of control. Lucifer? Do you have a cold? Sutingu asked curiously, but as soon as the words came out of her mouth, she was immediately rejected. That's not right. You have been hanging naked for tens of thousands of years. If you catch a cold, you will be gone. Are you immune? Lucifer raised his hand and pressed his temple. No. Does that mean you have a headache? Lucifer put down his hand. No. Before Sutingu could bring up other topics, Lucifer spoke first. Do you want to go out? The seal is broken. I'm afraid that by this time, the humans above will also know. Oh, let's leave quickly. Sutingu used the power of feathers to conjure a pair of wings and flew into the air. Let's go, let's lead the way. Lucifer also spread his wings and flew over. Sutinyu led the way from the front, and it took a lot of time to go around and around. Lucifer at the backside invisibly. If I had known that creating a volcano would be so troublesome, I should have listened to this human's advice. As the thought came to his mind, Lucifer couldn't help but cough again. Sutinyu listened to the coughing behind him, and immediately struggled with the previous question, when I go out later, should I find a doctor for you? No, human treatment methods are of no use to me. Lucifer once again rejected Sutinyu's kindness. After the man came out of the bottom of the volcano, Sutinyu took out his cell phone and looked at the time. 8:30. It's morning now. Sutinyu touched his belly. Lucifer, I have to go have breakfast first. By the way, do you want to try some human food? Lucifer shook his head slightly. No need. Okay then. Sutinyu's eyes fell on the pair of wings behind Lucifer. Do you want to go out and make a big fuss now? A big fuss? Why? Lucifer asked. Sutinyu asked in confusion. You have been imprisoned for so long. Don't you resent the humans here? Don't you want revenge? Lucifer fell silent. Why does he have the illusion that this human being is more active in the so-called revenge than himself? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 915. Lucifer said quietly, didn't you say you want to eat? If I make a big fuss, will you still have something to eat when you go out? That's right. Then when I'm full, you can make trouble again. Sutinyu nodded in agreement. So, Sutinyu, who was hungry, took a god and sat in the fried chicken shop. Sutinyu put on white gloves and began to enjoy the fried chicken happily, taking a sip of the drink from time to time. He was so happy that he couldn't help himself. Lucifer also had a drink in front of him. He looked at the straw inserted into Sutinyu's drink, then unpacked a straw and inserted it into it. There was no one in the store. After all, no normal person would choose to eat such greasy fried chicken so early in the morning. Ding dong, welcome. There was an electronic sound from the door of the store, indicating that someone had come in. Sutinyu subconsciously raised his head and took a look, but in the next second he thought in his heart. Such a coincidence. Met an old acquaintance. Angel Suchuzinyu also discovered the existence of Sutinyu. Her expression was slightly condensed, and her tone was surprised. Why are you here? When Chuzinyu saw Lucifer beside Sutinyu, she instantly lost her voice. You. A trace of fear surged in Chuzinyu's heart. For those who know that period of history, they have an instinctive fear in the face of living gods. Chuzinyu was about to turn around and run away, but the next second, she was pinned to the spot by Lucifer. Oh ho, I've been discovered by you. Sutinyu slowly swallowed the food in his mouth and then took off his gloves. Don't want to eat. Lucifer saw Chuzinyu, but he didn't pay much attention. Instead, he wondered why Sutinyu didn't continue eating. Someone is coming. Sutinyu pursed his lips. Lucifer raised his eyes slightly and glanced at Chuzinyu again. Do you know each other? No. Lucifer looked slightly stunned. However, I don't want to deal with her. Sutinyu remembered that Chuzinyu might also be here for a mission, and the alarm suddenly rang. You can't deal with her. Trade. Why did I trade with her? Lucifer felt more and more strange. She doesn't carry anything of mine. Sutinyu, What is not carried? Feather. Lucifer's feather? For a moment, Sutinyu seemed to have thought of something surprising. Sutinyu asked again, are you sure? She doesn't have feathers. Sutinyu's eyes widened. Then how did she come to Yin-Yang continent? Thinking of Sutinyu's origin, Lucifer slowly came back to his senses. Do you think she and you are both from another world? Yes, she is from the same world as me. Lucifer lowered his head, opened his mouth to hold the straw, took a sip of the drink, and said, this person is not, she is a human born and raised in this world. Lucifer had already felt the trace of divinity flowing in Chu Xinyu's blood when they first met. There is no doubt about it. She. Sutingyu raised her hand tremblingly and pointed at Chu Xinyu. She is from the Yin and Yang continent. Then how did she go to my world? And she is also the biological mother of a friend of mine. Chu Xinyu, who was immobilized and couldn't move, watched helplessly as his vest was taken off, and he quickly thought about how to deal with it. Chu Xinyu secretly used many game props in her inventory, but none of them could help her get rid of the immobilization. She's right here, you can ask her. Lucifer took a few more sips of his drink. After so many years, the human body is still weak. However, the drinks that humans are making now seem to be a bit delicious. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 916. Yes. You can ask. Just when Sutingyu was about to ask, she saw that the clerk who had gone to the toilet had returned to the cashier. The fried chicken restaurant is not very big, so if you do or say something directly here, it will definitely attract the attention of the clerk. Sutingyu silently closed her mouth. But Lucifer didn't care. Seeing that Sutingyu was obviously moved but didn't ask anything, he asked, "Why don't you ask?" Sutingyu lowered his voice, "There are people here, it's inconvenient." Lucifer looked at Sutingyu, then turned to look at the clerk. He picked up the drink and stood up. Sutingyu looked confused. "Where are you going?" Lucifer didn't answer, but walked straight to the clerk. When the clerk saw the customer coming, he politely asked, "This customer, what do you need?" There was a bit of amazement in the clerk's eyes, astonished by Lucifer's appearance, but she was just a small clerk with no power, and she didn't dare to do something like robbing a man. "The store is temporarily closed. Go out and guard the door to prevent anyone from coming in." Lucifer's eyes glowed with a hint of golden light. The clerk who looked into Lucifer's eyes gradually lost his consciousness and responded blankly, "Okay." After saying that, the clerk obediently left the checkout counter, walked out of the store, hung up the closed sign, closed the door again, and stood directly outside the door. Lucifer turned back, sat down again, and said to Sutingyu, "Okay." Sutingyu blinked his big eyes. "Ah, I didn't say I had to ask." Being chased off the shelves, Sutingyu had no choice but to ask Chu Xinyu, "How did you come to Yin Yang continent?" Chu Xinyu chuckled, "What do you think?" Tisk. Sutingyu knew that Chu Xinyu wouldn't say anything, so she looked at Lucifer. "You just did that to the clerk, can you do it to her? Let her tell the truth." "Truth? No." Lucifer shook his head slightly, "it just makes the clerk temporarily become a walking zombie. She is unconscious and will only do everything, but she can't answer questions." Chu Xinyu listened quietly and breathed a sigh of relief. "That's it?" Sutingyu wondered whether she should hypnotize Chu Xinyu. Lucifer is a god, Sutingyu doesn't have to worry about him being affected. If you want Chu Xinyu to tell the truth, hypnosis is necessary. After asking all the questions, Chu Xinyu couldn't stay. Thinking of this, a faint murderous intention flashed in Sutingyu's eyes. When Chu Xinyu was hesitating whether to use something like that in the current situation, she saw Sutingyu taking out a conch and placing it on the table. Looking at the conch, Chu Xinyu had an ominous premonition. Chu Xinyu made a prompt decision. Can't hesitate anymore. Sutingyu began to play the song inside the conch. Lucifer listened to the singing and just glanced at Sutingyu without any reaction. And Chu Xinyu's eyes became chaotic little by little. Finally, he was successfully hypnotized. "So," Sutingyu continued to ask, "how did you come to Blue Star before? Why do you appear in Yin Yang continent now? What is your purpose?" Chu Xinyu's face struggled slightly for a few seconds, and then she answered in a dull voice. "I came here as a wanderer, through the system, administrator, because of the endless cycle of light and darkness, the gods cannot be allowed to break through the seal." Chu Xinyu's voice was stumbling, and Sutingyu could only listen to it half understood. Why wonder? What administrator? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 917. Since he still didn't understand, Sutingyu continued to ask in depth, what is an administrator? Please be specific. Yes, yes. Chu Xinyu's face became struggling, and her words came out intermittently. What is it? Sutingyu continued to ask, but to her surprise, Chu Xinyu actually got out of the hypnotic state and regained consciousness. What did you do to me? Chu Xinyu quickly checked the inventory and found that the number of uses of an item that passively defended against mental attacks had decreased. Huh, Sutingyu was a little surprised. Are you awake? Does the hypnotized person wake up halfway? Even when Bird, the leader of the mercenary group in Jiyang continent, was hypnotized, as long as the hypnosis was successful, the person would not wake up before the normal time limit. Sutingyu looked at the change in Chu Xinyu's expression. Chu Xinyu glanced at the mermaid conch on the table intentionally or unintentionally, probably guessing that the mermaid conch had the ability to control people. But Chu Xinyu didn't show any fear of being controlled again. Could it be that the interruption of hypnosis was not an accident? Chu Xinyu is hiding other tricks? The voice recorded in conch is Sutingyu's voice, but there is a certain difference between Sutingyu's voice when he talks and when he sings. If you don't listen carefully, you won't be able to hear the similarities. Even if Chu Xinyu recognized Sutingyu's voice, she would probably only think it was the conch's ability and not think of Sutingyu himself. Thinking of this, Sutingyu felt a little relieved. Sutingyu was not sure whether hypnotizing Chu Xinyu again would be useful, so he had no choice but to give up hypnotizing him first. Chu Xinyu, can I ask you a question? Sutingyu asked sincerely. Chu Xinyu glanced at a progress bar on the panel and saw that it was still a little short of progress. Chu Xinyu looked at Sutingyu's smiling face. Inexplicably, it felt a little dazzling, and she sarcastically said, "Little girl, if I say no, can you shut your mouth?" Tisk tisk tisk, old aunt, don't be so angry, or you may become an old woman. You. Chu Xinyu is very thick-skinned and can respond to all kinds of curses with a smile, but she just can't stand to hear anyone laugh at her for getting older. Lucifer bit the straw lightly and added slowly, according to your human concept, her age is no longer considered an ant in front of you. She is indeed an old woman. Lao Sutingyuxiang remembered that humans in the Yin-Yang continent lived longer than the Blue Star people. Maybe Chu Xinyu was already hundreds of years old now. Chu Xinyu was so angry that she said something indiscriminately, is the legendary god so arrogant? Lucifer listened and didn't react at all, but Sutingyu seemed to have caught Chu Xinyu's hand, and raised his voice a little higher. She scolded you. Are you angry? Are you angry? It's okay, Lucifer said truthfully, after you left, this person came here and came to me from time to talk nonsense. It was quite annoying at first, but now, Lucifer doesn't feel anything anymore. The topic was getting a bit far away. Sutingyu remembered what she wanted to ask and asked. Chu Xinyu, why do you insist on torturing Guju? Sutingyu had always wondered why Gucci lost his mind and calmness when he encountered something about Chu Xinyu. And isn't Gucci Chu Xinyu's child? Why should we turn against each other? That's what you're asking. Chu Xinyu was stunned for a few seconds, and then laughed out loud. I thought you were going to ask what. That's it? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 918. Children are just for fun, aren't they? Chu Xinyu said in a matter-of-fact manner. Now that Xiao Qi has grown up, he is even more attractive. Shut up, Sutingyu really couldn't listen anymore. Chu Xinyu is not worthy of being a human being. Inexplicably, Su Tingyu got angry. Even Su Tingyu was not so angry about his fatherless and motherless life experience. Su Tingyu suddenly turned to look at Lucifer. Don't you want revenge? Why don't you start with her? Lucifer was a little confused. Did he say he wanted revenge? Why is he not impressed? This guy should have some life-saving means. You can use a little more strength, preferably the kind that can lift her soul. Su Tingyu was filled with anger and needed to vent it, so he blatantly encouraged. Su Tingyu felt angry and sad for Gu Qi, having to deal with such a disgusting biological mother. Similarly, Su Tingyu didn't forget what Siepwu mentioned to her before: someone wanted to check her real identity. Later, Su Tingyu found out that person was Chu Xinyu. With Shan Yu's example in front of her, Su Tingyu had no doubt that if Chu Xinyu also found out his real identity, the latter would definitely attack him if he had the chance. But now, there was an opportunity right in front of him to step on the opponent's foot and vent his anger on Gu Qi. Su Tingyu felt shamefully moved. Don't listen to her. Lucifer was thinking about it when a vague voice sounded in his head. After hearing what it was, Lucifer immediately made a choice. Good. After finishing his words, Lucifer couldn't stop coughing several times. After coughing, Lucifer raised his right arm, stretched out a finger, and tapped Chu Xinyu's chest. The next second, blood began to ooze from Chu Xinyu's chest, staining her shirt red. His eyes, ears, and nose were all bleeding out. Chu Xinyu's face suddenly turned pale. In addition, Chu Xinyu felt a splitting headache. The few precious mental defense items she had were all used less frequently, but they still did not improve at all. 100%. Emergency evacuation. Chu Xinyu was completely relieved when she saw that the progress of the panel had finally reached 100%. Chu Xinyu turned towards Su Tingyu and curled her lips coldly. I remember you. Su Tingyu frowned. When she realized something was strange, a whirlpool door suddenly appeared behind Chu Xinyu. Chu Xinyu was directly sucked in, and the whirlpool door was immediately closed. Su Tingyu looked at the empty ground, unable to digest the situation in front of him for a while, ran away. Lucifer put down his right arm, his face softened from a somewhat lazy expression. It seems that he was rescued by something. Su Tingyu felt a little regretful. That should be because her life-saving method worked. Su Tingyu did not choose to kill Chu Xinyu by herself, just to guard against the latter's tricks. As a player, she might not be able to kill Chu Xinyu. So Lucifer was asked to take action, but in the end, he was still run away. It was just that Chu Xinyu was seriously injured. What a shame. Settlement space. A whirlpool door opened, and Chu Xinyu's figure staggered out. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out, as if all the energy he had been holding onto was released. Chu Xinyu collapsed on the ground regardless of his appearance. Cough cough cough, bah. Chu Xinyu spit out the remaining blood in her mouth, lay on her back on the ground, and opened her own panel at the same time.